This program is brought to you by the Genesis Communications Network, a world leader in talk radio since 1998. Visit GCNlive.com today.
You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Now, before we started, it did appear as if everybody started laughing because I said something ahead of this discussion that they are responding to. I made a noise or something. I forget. I just had lunch, so we can forgive what the noise was. In any case, we do have an important poll up at forum.theparacast.com. That's forum.theparacast.com. And we're discussing different options for the future for the Paracast. So we'd like you to check it out and make your vote known. We'll talk about it more on After the Paracast. And what is After the Paracast? Well, that's our premium podcast that is only available if you are subscribed to the Paracast Plus at plus.theparacast.com. And what we offer there is the commercial-free version of this show, better quality audio after the Paracast, and other benefits. And the most important thing to realize about that service is it is the absolute 100% best way to support the show. If you really care about the Paracast, check it out and subscribe. Really, plus.theparacast.com. Chris, we have been moving away a little bit from UFOs, except for last week's episode where you weren't present. And we've been getting into other subjects. We had Gary Lockman, the former Blondie bassist, on just a couple of weeks ago. We had Dr. Jeffrey Mishlove. But I want to bring to your attention something. Now, most of our listeners are familiar with a guy named Bob Zanotti, who is an old broadcaster that I knew as a kid, lives in Switzerland now, and he went to school, public school, in Hawthorne, New Jersey with Debbie Harry of Blondie. And so I asked him, tell me about Debbie Harry. And he had this short response. She was very precocious and turned a lot of heads at the Hawthorne public pool in her bikini, which was bold at the time. This is like, talking about the 1960s. He said further, she seemed to enjoy being admired, but she was aloof and not the social idol. I'd say she hasn't changed much. So I guess he didn't like her.
Well, whatever. She was one of those kind of high school cheerleader types, I would imagine. So I'm not surprised.
And to herself, I gather.
She had her eyes across the river over into Manhattan. So, again, I'm not surprised.
Okay, so that's the observation. Debbie Harry. We'll go from there. Today, Chris, you've gotten us a really good guest. This is, I think, his second appearance on the Paracast. And he's present and accounted for, along with lots of sound effects.
Hey.
All right. Yes, indeed, Paracast listeners. We have Michael Esposito, a longtime research and investigative associate of mine who gets my vote for arguably in the top rung of the world's top EVP experts. He's got quite a background that includes Desert Storm, Army intelligence, PSYOPs work that filters all the way down into haunted site investigations around the world. The most impressive EVP expert that I personally have worked with, and Michael and I have done over the years. It's been a few years. We're planning on some more investigations, but back in 2006, 2007, we went to some of the most haunted sites around his area, which is in Illinois. He's just outside of the Chicago area. And Michael, I must say, having watched Game 7 of the World Series, what do you think? Chi-Town, the Cubbies.
Yeah, 108 years in the making.
Oh, man, that was quite something. Congratulations to any of you Cub fans out there. I'm not sure if Michael's much of a sports fan. He's more of the serious, studious type. But, hey, my hat goes off to all the Cub fans out there. A long time in the waiting. Jennifer Childress, David Childress's wife, of course, is a diehard Cubs fan. And she said her grandmother's probably turning over many times in her grave because she waited for the Cubs to win the World Series her whole life, was a rabid fan. My congratulations goes out to the entire Cubby organization and all their fans. And what a great guest to have on taping after the day after Game 7. But getting back to the subject at hand, Michael has absolutely blown me away with just hundreds of electronic voice phenomenon recordings, EVPs, which are, we think, the recorded voices of people, entities, beings, what have you, that have some sort of residual presence in the present day. And as the theory goes, we're able to pick up recordings, if the conditions are correct, of these disincarnate energy forms, for lack of a better term. I've been present when Michael has done EVP sessions. I've gone through and combed through the evidence. I don't have near the fine-tuned ear that he has, but to be honest with you, I've been so impressed with some of the quality recordings that Michael has acquired and accumulated that last year I produced an album of music, some grooves that I had hanging around for years and some new material, and then used Michael's EVPs as vocal tracks for, samples of, to put on top of the music. And I must say, it takes a lot to impress me. And, I am quite discerning, as most of our listeners know. And I do really applaud Michael for his efforts. He's literally traveled around the world to haunted sites and has gathered, amassed, I should say, thousands of recordings that I think bear scrutiny. Michael, welcome to the show. Why don't, for our new listeners, why don't you give us a little background about yourself and how you got involved in acoustic work to begin with, and then how that dovetailed into your haunted site investigations and EVP work.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, and Chris, it's a great album. If people want to find that album, the mixes that you did, which are absolutely brilliant, they can go to on Facebook, Lost Patrol Records. Just Google, on Facebook, just put in Lost Patrol Records, and that'll take them to a Bandcamp page where they can get that as a download currently right now. And just one thing about the Cubs really quick, and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge hockey fan. I absolutely love the Cubs, but I read something the other day as far as Cubs baseball. Someone said fireworks, mayhem in the streets, all this yelling and screaming. Is this something we're going to have to put up with every 108 years? And I thought that was brilliant because, and again, when you mentioned that Children's grandmother was turning in her grave, it's you're looking at an event, an energy that hasn't happened in not just a parent's lifetime, but even a grandparent's lifetime, and going back 108 years, and that's an energy event that is unprecedented.
Well, so do we have a bunch of riots and everything this morning or last night? What actually transpired? I mean, I'm sure the bars were filled till closing time, but any sort of civil disobedience and over the top partying going on? I haven't really seen any headlines or anything.
We will have to hold this announcement, or there will be riots from our sponsors at the network. Michael Esposito joins Gene and Chris. You're in
The Paracast.
the award-winning graphic converter, the universal genius for photo editing on your Mac. Join over 1.5 million loyal users for this Swiss Army knife photo editing app. It gives you all you expect from a top-flight image editing app with tons of features, and most important, it's easy to use. Get 20% off from lemkesoft.de/Gene. That's lemkesoft.de/Gene. Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich, working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare, having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom106.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom106.com. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom106.com.
From the pages of the Bible comes a terrifying account of an ancient beast that was half man, half demon. It is returned in the best-selling novel Nephilim by L.A. Marzulli. Indiegogo presents you with an opportunity to get involved in making this supernatural novel into a major motion picture. Join journalist Mac McKenzie as he travels halfway around the world to uncover the truth about aliens and demons. Join our Indiegogo campaign to get Nephilim made into a movie. Go to Indiegogo.com, #Nephilim.
People who can afford a LASIK procedure sure are lucky. Imagine being able to throw away your contacts and glasses. Imagine waking up tomorrow with 20/20 vision. Too bad everyone can't afford LASIK. Well, guess what? There's a company that agrees with you. TLC Laser Eye Centers is now offering great prices on high-quality LASIK to make it affordable for everyone. That means you get the latest FDA-approved all-laser LASIK technology for less than what others charge. And if you call right now, we'll schedule a free appointment so you can discover if LASIK is right for you. Results may vary. Call 1-800-933-1427. Even better, if you're one of the first 100 callers, ask about an extra $400 off your all-laser LASIK procedure. That's $200 off per eye. We've already performed over 2 million procedures. Let us help you. Discover how you can get the quality LASIK experience you deserve for less than what others charge. For your free appointment, call 1-800-933-1427. 1-800-933-1427.
A lot can happen in 6 seconds. A rodeo ride, a dramatic basketball win, and the world record holder can solve a Rubik's Cube. 6 seconds is how long it takes for an 18-wheeler traveling at a safe speed to come to a complete stop. And in those 6 seconds, that truck will travel the length of 2 football fields. So please, give them room. Never cut in front of a large truck for any reason. Our roads, our responsibility. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
So once again, a reminder that if you want to get the real special version of the show, no ads, better quality audio, and the exclusive After the Paracast podcast, if you want the number one numeral uno way to support the show, check out the Paracast Plus at plus.theparacast.com. In our previous segment, Chris asked a question of Michael Esposito. I think it's more about sports, though, and the Cubs and everything. What's your response?
Well, actually, I think it's about Northsiders versus Southsiders. Northsiders are pretty tame. They get a little loud and rambunctious, but it's all fairly safe. Chicago's had such a horrible track record as of late of shootings and such. I think anything over the top would probably be mixed in with the whole bunch. But I think for the most part, Northsiders are pretty well civilized, so it's not a big issue. No overturning cars, no setting fire to stuff.
And if they did, they would be playing that to the skies about the unruly people in Chicago, so you have to give a good impression. Let's give some impressions about this mystical stuff, because over the course of this episode, we'll be hearing some of the sound effects you provide. And as we understand, Chris sampled them for his new album. Now, before I go on, I listened to a few of these before we went on, and I have a whole bunch of files in readiness, and you'll have to tell me which ones you want to hear, and we'll cue them up for the listeners. The question is sometimes what you hear is vague enough, you can kind of imply what you think they are. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's always been a kind of a duality or a paradigm of thoughts between whether or not it's real EVP or if there is audio pareidolia involved or what have you. But if you listen closely, you can earmark certain audio characteristics that can only be human-made. And I did a lot of work with speech pathologists out in Colorado and really got a good handle on certain utterances, certain sounds that only could be made by humans, not animals, or ambient noise such as walking through rumbling leaves in a cemetery or things like that. So, things like glottal stops and the tapping of the T, and there's a certain characteristic to them that I think makes them very distinctly humanoid.
That begs the question. We're talking about humanoid sounds coming out of the ethers. How do we explain that sort of disconnect between a human voice box producing an acoustic signature and something that appears to be manufactured that way, but there's no sound generation, obviously, apparent to the person that's doing the actual recording?
That's actually a really good point. And my initial desire is to claw my way into my theories on microsound and the rest of the quantum physics theory that I've been working on. But before I do that, let me pose this to make it one step deeper, is that would require actually belief that comes from an actual physical or tangible environment. Indeed, what if our own energy is acting as an antenna, actually putting these sounds onto recording media? Now, granted, recorders are all analog because microphones are basically metal rods with coil wrapped around them, so they're all analog. The digital end of things are some of the sound processing and the storage. That's where you go into digital. And that's really kind of neither here nor there, except when we talk about compression. But most of the compression comes through the microphone. So the question is this something that really is in the ether that we're capturing? Or is this something that we're psychically transposing onto a medium?
Oh, well, so just to get a little bit more clarity here on what you're saying. In other words, we may be in essence, an acoustic medium for a particular energy, thought form, disincarnate spirit, ghost, whatever term you want to use, is using us as almost a transducer or something that's actually relaying acoustic information out. But we're not really saying anything during these recordings. I mean, we're completely silent. So where is that? Number one, where's the convergence point? Number two, how is that relayed out in an acoustic form so that it can be then picked up by an analog microphone and then, digitally, captured?
Well, let me ask you this. Let's just consider it as a thought or a combination of thoughts of the different researchers, a combination of researchers that are in the environment. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical vocal thing. There's that famous quantum theory that matter only exists because humans are there to observe it. In other words, if there's a tree in a woods and no human's ever seen it, it's been in a constant state of deterioration and doesn't no longer exist. It literally, the molecular structure falls apart because without the strength of human observation, it doesn't have the energy to hold itself together. So
I hate to kind of jump in on that one there, Michael, but that's kind of over the top there, buddy. In other words, all those forests up in Siberia.
We're looking at a full range of possibilities too. You have to.
Right. But I think the old axiom is if a tree falls in the forest and nobody is there to hear it, doesn't make a sound. I think that's kind of what you're referring to. But you're actually saying the trees don't exist unless someone's there to observe them, and that there's a big difference.
That's correct. And I always thought the axiom was if a man's in the woods and he's all alone and there's not a woman around to hear him, is he still wrong? But
well, the problem with that is he probably is.
Yeah, but what's he doing in the woods alone? That's what the woman will ask. But the point is, there's actually a theory out there that matter retains its physical properties because of human observation, the power of human observation.
You're kind of suggesting that we're living inside a giant virtual simulation, that we're actually in some sort of VR program or something.
Gee, I'm not the only one that's ever thought that, Chris.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a new concept. I mean, and is there some reality to it? Then you have to question, I question, therefore I'm God.
Well, how about trail cams? Trail cams can be set up and no one's there to observe them, yet they're able to capture real physical events in the environment.
Until the point of observation, right? Then once it's
observed. No. I mean, just because a trail cam image isn't observed by somebody doesn't mean that it's not there.
But there's no proof of it because no one's observed it. It's a circular argument, is what it is. It's really, right, exactly. Secondary to, I was using it as a side post to where I was actually going with it. Where I'm actually going with the idea is it possible that our collective energy, and now we're going into Sheldrake, or even before that, I would say Edgar Allan Poe's Eureka, but is it possible that our collective energy, or at least the subgroup of the researchers in any given environment, isn't contributing to the haunting? In other words,
answer that question. Are they causing it to happen? The collective unconscious, maybe? More to come with Michael Esposito, Gene and Chris. You're in the Paracast.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I'm here to tell you about GCNtelecare.com, a team of board-certified doctors assisting you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Within 15 minutes of registration, care your family can afford. Revolutionizing the healthcare industry, virtual consulting providing diagnosis of non-emergency medical issues by phone or secure video on computer or smart mobile devices. GCNtelecare.com, virtual care anywhere.
Has neck, back, or shoulder pain got you down? Go to sunshine-pillows.com and get soothing comfort, support, and pain relief fast. Their microwavable heat therapy pillows and wraps treat neck and shoulder pain, reduce stress, and relax the soul. An ergonomic pillow from Sunshine Pillows supports your head and neck on long trips or when simply resting at home. Be good to yourself. Visit sunshine-pillows.com. sunshine-pillows.com.
Dangerous blood clot device alert. If you or a loved one had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to your heart or lungs and suffered an injury, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, and even death. These dangerous blood clot devices can break, and the metal fragments can travel to your heart or lungs, causing serious injuries. If you or a loved loved one suffered organ damage or other injuries from an IVC filter, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. InjuryHelpDesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hi, Peter Vaccaro for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up for free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and the afterlife, and so much more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people seeking a viable alternative to the other dating services. You can join for free by going to ParanormalDate.com, and if you decide you like it and want to connect with people, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. Mark Rawlings, president of ParanormalDate.com, says so many people hunger to share their experiences about the paranormal, the unexplainable, or the afterlife, and so much more, and this is the source for them to meet and share that common interest. So sign up for free at ParanormalDate.com, ParanormalDate.com, and use the code GEORGE if you decide to connect with someone you like.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solarc EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solarc is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit PortableSolarLLC.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solarc is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solarc beats other off-grid systems at PortableSolarLLC.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to PortableSolarLLC.com to learn why Solarc is energy insurance for your family.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gray Alien Report, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
We have EVP Chris, and I hear the silence.
The gold shall catch the light. That's my favorite.
That's your favorite?
Yeah, the blue and the gold shall catch the light.
I think I have that on there. I think I sent it.
Yeah, that's a classic. That's a classic one.
And that's actually a good example about what I'm talking about, too. You know, a lot of people say, well, you have to be careful because you take away any negative energy or positive energy of a place that you're working, and you can carry it or transpose it to another place. So a lot of times, even more seasoned researchers could be bringing a whole lot of baggage, I guess, into a particular environment and contaminating their own research. The EVP that Chris was talking about was one that we captured at the Sally House called the blue and the gold. If you look through your list, try one of our EVPs out here. You can see the blue and gold could catch the light.
Is this something you have here that you want me to play?
Yeah.
I have to look for it here. It's called the blue and gold.
Could catch.
Yeah. The blue and gold. Are we ready? This is a loud one, folks. Here we go. The blue and the gold could catch the light.
The blue and the gold catch the light.
Well, that sounds like something you can understand it, at least.
Well, you know, we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, Michael. I think, first of all, my original question still stands. How did you get interested in this subject to begin with? What kind of background do you have? Talk about your Army experience in Desert Storm a little bit, and give us, kind of give some of our newer listeners who weren't here 5-6 years ago to hear your first appearance on the show, catch people up on who you are, how you got involved, and some of the things that you've been working on.
Well, I was always interested in experimental and industrial musics, basically non-mainstream stuff, and a lot of stuff that was either purely noise or field recording in nature. I remember as a child listening to the sounds of the semis on the highway in the wee hours of the morning, or the thumping of the furnace, and actually really enjoying the sound of it and finding a lot of comfort and peace in it, and enjoyed it probably a lot more than music. So I've always been kind of attuned to sounds as music, in sort of a John Cage, I guess, kind of way. And I'm referring to 433, where he played nothing for 4 minutes, and people were forced to listen to the sounds around them. Eventually, how I actually got into EVP research is I was building a mid-tower computer. I used to modify and hack computers, and I was building a German Teratech, like a 32-track studio in a mid-tower case. And I was trying to mod the frequency ranges on it, and I ran into some of this EVP stuff, and I tried it, and I got absolutely incredible results from the very beginning, and literally been hooked ever since. And then it was just natural down the road to start taking these voices and build them into constructs or compositions, if you will, of listening music. And most of my recordings, and quite a few of them, you'll hear is all sounds made from a particular environment. So they're phenomenological snapshots. They're everything that was in the room at the time, chopped up and rearranged, but maintaining the legitimacy or the original frequency values. So basically, it's really a sort of a snapshot of a room or a place, cemetery, whatever, rearranged into an aesthetic composition or an aesthetic picture, if you will.
Okay. Well, how did you get involved with Army acoustic work in the field?
Well, yeah, most of that was, I was in desert. I got my Army commission from the University of Notre Dame, and in Desert Storm and Desert Shield, actually the whole 3 tours, I was in PSYOPs and other fields in the military, wore civilian clothes. I lived previously in Egypt, so I spoke plausible Arabic, and a lot of that was involved with that. So some of that, again, there wasn't, I wasn't creating or recreating like the old classic Vietnam piece where we were emulating dead people, wandering the jungles of Vietnam because they couldn't get buried in time, and playing them over loudspeakers of Hueys or anything like that. But
so were you beaming Arabic into the heads of troops in trenches that were so freaked out that they came out and started kissing the feet of GIs because Muhammad had been talking to them in their heads, or anything kind of sci-fi like that?
Well, no, but music's always been a factor. I mean, in sound, we've always used the pleasant musics to disarm ourselves in a way that, hey, they listen to our music, everything's cool. It's kind of like someone listens to Barry Manilow walking to a hip hop concert. You're just not going to get a whole lot of good response, But if you, well, it's kind of a, you know what I'm saying. You really want to.
Well, I remember for an example of acoustic PSYOPs operations. I remember this from the Waco siege, and also from the siege of Manuel Noriega at the Vatican Embassy in Panama, where the sounds of rabbits being slaughtered and heavy metal music and weird sort of demonic background, backwards masking type stuff was going on.
I'm surprised you didn't bring up the Barney theme song from Three Kings, or whatever. Was that the name of that movie, Three Kings?
Yeah, Three Kings, right.
Yeah. I'm surprised that one didn't come up. That's what I usually get.
Well, I'm cutting to the stuff that's been publicly acknowledged by the military, just to keep you from having to divulge classified projects and that sort of thing. But you were involved in some pretty sophisticated EM generated sound, acoustic waves that the average person really isn't aware of. For instance, in New York, for a short time, there was a billboard promoting a TV show that if you stood in one place in the sidewalk, you could hear the actual acoustic signature of the ad in your head. And as soon as you stepped out of the range of the EM field, then that voice would disappear from in your head. There was no apparent acoustic signature. If you were nearby, you couldn't hear anything. You'd just hear it reverberate inside your head. How sophisticated do you think our technology is in the military and the intelligence services?
That's actually a very old concept. In fact, they attribute that kind of to the widespread appeal of classical music, that the frequencies involved in a lot of the composition of classical music vibrate the inner ear hairs and create sounds in your head that aren't actually played. In fact, there was a famous female on my wall. I posted a great interview by her a long time ago. It was a female electronic music pioneer from the 60s and 70s that would create electronic music that actually would create tones that weren't being played in the individual listener's ears based on vibrating of the hair on the inner ears and the anvil and hammer, of course. So the whole concept of that billboard is actually not new technology or anything. It's just a new application of it.
Let's do a break here and continue with this. Michael Esposito, EVPs, with EVP Chris and Gene. I don't get anything in front of my name, although some people use words I can't repeat. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
We also have swag. We have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy. We've got 60 or so different items, and entails t-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast Jumbo tote bag, all sorts of t-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, great t-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children, stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com, stop by, and take a shopping tour.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. I'm talking thick, meaty, center-cut presidential bacon. Savory and delicious. I buy some, I use some, I store some. Awesome. No refrigeration needed with a 10-year shelf life. NASA-packed technology. Bacon. Fully cooked, fully hydrated, ready to eat right from the packed bacon. Or warm and served. Life-saving, ready-to-eat bacon. 10-year shelf life bacon. Ships free at fullycookedbacon.com. Fullycookedbacon.com.
By now you know that wireless technology like cell phones do in fact pose dangers to the health and privacy of everyone. Block-It Pocket's wide range of products are unmatched in providing the protection you deserve. No scare tactics, just common sense. BlockItPocket.com offers quality American-made options to alleviate and eliminate these invisible dangers. Learn more at BlockItPocket.com or call 888-315-9618. BlockItPocket.com, enhancing health and privacy.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Are you retired or facing retirement and you're afraid your income is going to be less than you'd like? I'm Pharmacist Keith. Dr. Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy, and I want to show you a low-cost way to create your own business working around your current schedule, creating extra income that will last for years to come by joining Dr. Wallach's crusade, spreading his message of better health. To learn more, visit radio.recordedvideo.com. That's radio.recordedvideo.com, radio.recordedvideo.com, or call 866-257-3105 for a recorded message.
This is Jerome Clark, author of the UFO Encyclopedia and other books. You're listening to the Paracast.
That is EVP, Chris. We now know where that voice comes from. Michael, I'm sorry I had to kind of break off your discussion a little bit there. Would you continue, please?
Yeah, I know the conversation keeps taking off different veins, and I think a lot of this interview is going to be a lot of corralling more than anything, because it's.
Well, I'm trying to give our listeners a sense of your background, how you arrived to the place that you're at today as one of the acknowledged top experts on the planet in haunted site acoustic recordings. I have seen with my own eyes, and I'm as you know, Michael, when on that first trip we took, I was rolling my eyes, and I was really skeptical about the whole concept. Sure, I heard some Class A EVPs and they sounded impressive, but I wasn't there when they were recorded. It's like, come on, show me. It's almost like I was born in Missouri. I need to be shown these things. I need to experience them. And by the time we were done, going to Mantino, going to the Rico D's restaurant, we didn't really get anything at the Studebaker Mansion, but Mantino and Rico D's. I mean, how do you explain? Let's set up for our audience the Rico D's. Amazing recording that to this day I still can't wrap my head around how this could possibly have happened. You have to picture this, listeners. Here we arrive. It's a restaurant that used to be the country house for Al Capone. It was his private little bordello, his place where his guys would hang out. The second floor was a house of ill repute, a private bordello. There were tunnels that went from this place to the Chicago River. It had an amazing history after Capone. In the 20s and 30s, and then onwards, it was a biker bar. Someone was killed in the attic, and when we walked in, the owner of the restaurant, the first thing he really told us is nobody goes up into the attic, and we can get into it a little later why. But he considered it kind of off limits and very dangerous. And so everybody kind of agreed. And the first thing Michael did was he snuck up there, hit record, put it there, and then snuck back down before anybody could see him. So we're going through the night. We're having this investigation. And at one point, about 45 minutes after we gotten there, 45 minutes to an hour, a group of us were standing around a table on the second floor. I was changing out batteries on my video camera, and we were kind of talking in low tones, in kind of hushed voices. Everybody was being kind of quiet. And there was a lull in the conversation. And out of the blue, we heard this, well, I can't even say it, but it's F you. And everybody everybody's eyes got wide, and we looked around and we could tell nobody had cursed us out, around the table. It was somebody else's voice. It was just loud as could be, like somebody in the room had cursed us out and said, F you. And as we're sitting there going, did you say, we're looking around, here comes Michael and the owner of the restaurant down the hallway. And they walk into the room and we excitedly say, you won't believe what just happened here. And what did he say, the owner of the restaurant? He made some phrase like, wow, I can't believe that just happened, or I can't believe that happened, or he said a phrase.
Right. Wow, it's amazing. I can't believe that just happened. It's amazing what you find here, or something like that.
Right, but it was a very distinct
It was a very
sentence.
distinct.
And by this time, I had switched out batteries, and I recorded him saying this as he walks into the room. Well, days later, when we go into the studio to sync up the audio recordings from the various recorders that we had, because everything was very done with time codes, and we were able to sync everything up easily, because we went into the investigation knowing that everything had to be synced up, all three cameras, all the audio recordings, we had time code and all that. And we took the recording device that Michael had put up in the attic, and within 5 minutes of him hitting record, the owner of the restaurant's voice said that phrase that he said when he walked into the room 45 minutes later on the second floor below the attic. And we got a recording of him saying that, but it was different. It seemed like somebody, like a really good mimic, imitating his voice, but he didn't get the inflection was a little wrong, the timing was a little wrong, but the words were exactly the same.
And
it was
the
like
meter,
the most amazing,
and the meter and the rhythm were perfect. Yeah.
It was the most amazing example of some sort of time dilation effect that me, as a so-called investigator, I have never encountered anything that has come close to that. And and that was just the beginning. I mean, we could do a couple of shows on all the investigations that we've done here in Arizona,
Right.
in Illinois, and the EVPs that we did at the Murrow Building Memorial Park in Oklahoma City, with the kids screaming and people yelling, a bomb, a bomb. I really feel that there's something to this whole acoustic phenomenon. And Michael, later on in the show, we'll talk about some of the trips that you've taken around the world, the EVPs that you got in the catacombs in Paris and the Colosseum in Rome. This is, I think, a really underappreciated aspect of haunted site investigations in terms of trying to take it to the scientific mainstream and say, here's the evidence chain. How do you explain this?
But let me just interject something real quick.
Sure, go ahead. I'm
move
monopolizing the show here.
Well, no, just before we move too far away from Rick O'Dee's, which is now called Irish Legends, which is an amazing place, but across the street from it, directly across the street from it, it was like a 2-lane road, there was a very special place called the Willowbrook Ballroom. That was the site that Resurrection Mary initially danced at, or the story of Resurrection Mary is centered around the Willowbrook Ballroom, right across the street from Irish Legends, which was Rick O'Dee's. And you guys probably haven't heard, but a couple days before Halloween, it burnt to the ground.
Really? Well, who was Resurrection Mary, first of all?
Resurrection Mary is a famous, what they call a woman in white haunting in Chicago, on right there on Archer Avenue, where Irish Legends and Willowbrook Ballroom is. And in the 30s, a girl went dancing against her. Here's the story anyway. Went dancing against her father's wishes with a young boy, and something happened that he had not taken her home or something, and she got hit and killed by a car. And throughout the years, people have seen her walking along the street. Taxi drivers and others have picked her up in the car to be asked to be dropped off at the cemetery, Resurrection Cemetery in Justice, Illinois, or at the ballroom, and disappeared out of the car without paying fare. A young man was dancing with her in the 50s in the Willowbrook Ballroom, and she seemed very odd and strange and saying she was cold. He lent her his senior jacket, his Letterman jacket, which was later found on her tombstone in the Resurrection Cemetery. The most famous thing that happened was in Resurrection Cemetery, a taxi driver saw a woman that looked like she was trapped within the cemetery after it was locked up, holding onto the bars. And so he called the police, and the police arrived, and they didn't find anything. But the two places where she was holding onto the bars were horribly melted with handprints in them, including you could actually see fingerprints, which drew so much attention that the church actually had to cut the bars out of the fence and then replace them, which there's some speculation of where those bars actually are. But the legend of Resurrection Mary is probably as famous as the Curse of the Goat is in Chicago, if not more. And her original dance was held at the Willowbrook Ballroom right across the street from Rick O'Dee's, or which now the Irish Legends. And it just burned down a couple days before Halloween to the ground.
So we're talking just recently, this year?
What's that?
This year?
Yeah, this year. Just a few days ago. But yeah, I know. Well, I'm just adding to the whole, because we're talking about Irish Legends or Rick O'Dee's and the filming that we did
right across the street.
And right across the street was the Willowbrook Ballroom, and the whole story of the area, the whole story of the thing just continues to grow. And believe me, if you don't think there aren't going to be things said about this in the future, there will be.
You know, there will be this announcement coming up, and we want you to listen to it because that's how the network makes money. Maybe we don't, but we have our own ads too sometimes. We have Michael Esposito with Gene and with Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
Diabetes is at war with your circulatory system. Fight back with Cardivite. Cardivite is a dietary supplement containing powerful herbs for circulation and healthy cardiac function. Improve your energy, stamina, and mental acuity. Reduce swelling, cold hands, and risk of amputation. Get your blood flowing with Cardivite. This 5-star rated product was developed by a diabetic pharmacist and is available online at www.getbloodflowing.com. That's www.getbloodflowing.com.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states. Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
So we have the echo of Chris O'Brien. They say if you repeat yourself, you must be on drugs, but we're not. Michael Esposito, You give long answers, and sometimes we have to break it up.
Yeah, I've been known to be a little windy.
There's a song called Windy back in the 60s, but it has nothing to do with any of that.
It's about Resurrection Mary.
It's about Resurrection Mary.
Oh, no, well, that's Along Comes Mary, the other association hit. Sorry.
Yeah, well, Along Comes Mary is about marijuana.
Really?
Sure.
Mary Jane?
Along Comes Mary, the association.
Yeah, Blowing in the Wind is supposedly about smoking weed.
Also, Got to Get You Into My Life from the Beatles. Paul McCartney about his early marijuana experiences. But no, there was another song the association did called Windy.
Right.
Yeah.
Looking out my back door.
The association, of course, was all that music was performed by the Wrecking Crew, the crack studio musicians in L.A., but the actual three members of the association, the original three members, were baggers at a grocery store.
Now, just to let you know, here's the urban legend about Windy. The infectious pop classic Windy was released by the band The Association in 1967, but the original lyrics were written about the hippie boyfriend of the songwriter, but they were rewritten by the association to be about a woman. So there you go. But I think you're looking at who's tripping down the streets of the city, smiling at everybody she sees, who's reaching out to capture a moment. Everyone knows it's windy. The words tripping down must be
Everyone knows
drugs.
It's Resurrection. Along Comes Mary. Anyway, we digress. So, Michael, let's kind of take a little a journey through some of your investigative ventures. One of the ones that really impressed me quite a bit was the Potawatomi recording that you got of an extinct form of Potawatomi. Why don't you give our listeners kind of a background on that particular case and how much work it actually took to figure out what that voice was saying?
Well, I've been doing a little side project. Actually, there's a Facebook page on it that's highly neglected. A little side project called Utterances of Native Tongue. And basically it has to do with Native American findings and research at Native American sites and stuff, which actually there's been some new developments on it that I haven't been able to chase down. But this particular case you're referring to was in Cedar Lake, Indiana, and it was a Potawatomi burial mound in an old Potawatomi village. And that's actually where the Luann's farm stuff is, also Potawatomi. But this particular one is the local settlers, which were mostly Dutch, decided to use that great little mound, that little hill, to bury their dead on top of that, including a veteran from the Revolutionary War. And then in the 30s, they started to build summer cottages and stuff around it. So they decided to dig into the sides of it to mount housing in. And later, those houses became permanent housing. In fact, a few years ago, a couple caskets popped up in some guy's crawl space, and he had to have the state come and reinter them. So it's a piece of ground that was ritually sacred, and they literally just desecrated over and over and over again for many, many years. And one of the EVPs I captured off of that was in Potawatomi, which I really had to trace down someone that knew something about the language to be able to translate, because it was kind of hard for me to make any sense of it. I knew it was humanistic in nature, but I just didn't know what it said. Which, across the world, in a lot of the foreign spots that I've recorded, I've had to do the same, especially in Sweden and some in Germany, but mostly Sweden. I've had problems with the translation in.
Chris?
So, that kind of reminds me that we've had an idea for a while that we've not been able to really coordinate our schedules and act upon. But, I thought after reading an article about the Sand Creek Massacre site. I was investigating in researching a cattle mutilation case that had occurred on the north end of that massacre site. And there were, interesting quotes by the rancher and his wife that they could hear at times, usually on really quiet nights, really cold winter nights. They could hear what they, interpreted as the sounds of like battle, like they were hearing residual effects somehow through time of the actual massacre, and women wailing and people screaming, guns going off, that sort of thing. And it kind of gave me an idea that Michael and I should possibly visit some of the more celebrated massacre sites, Wounded Knee, Battle of Little Bighorn, places where lots of people were killed in an awful way, and do a series of EVP recording sessions at places where we had either battles or massacres having to do with Native Americans. Because to me, the ultimate evidence is getting EVP recordings in languages that we don't know, whether it's Sioux, whether it's Cheyenne, Arapaho, Potawatomi, but to get recordings in another language, because to me, number one, that would I would say kind of on some level it would sort of, I don't know, kind of I don't know how to put it, but disprove Michael's potential theory that the investigators are somehow involved in the actual filtering of some form of energy that then manifests acoustically on a recording. Because I don't know Native American languages. I just know a few words in Hopi and Navajo or Dene. So that to me would be a really worthy experiment. And I still, Michael, that idea is still, I still have it on the table. I'd really like to do that and pull out some time to go ahead and figure out a way to marshal our resources and get to these sites. I think that would be a really worthy experiment. But speaking of languages and capturing EVPs of languages that are either extinct, long dead, or not known by you, why don't you give us some examples and some ideas of what you have had, success with when you've gone to, let's say, the Paris catacombs, the basement where the gladiators hung out below the Colosseum. Give us some examples of some of the recordings that you've been able to get in these places.
Well, definitely in the Colosseum, but there's a Museum of Purgatory Souls near the Vatican I did recordings at, where this priest in the late 1800s, early 1900s collected artifacts from everything from the 3rd and 4th centuries of burnt robes and pieces of wood and books that had handprints and signs of the cross burned into them. And they were usually accompanied visions of the dead asking for prayer from the clergy or family members to get them out of purgatory. And the recordings from there were incredible, included a lot of bits in Italian, in the Gamala Prost Garden of the Haunted Priest House in northern Sweden, quite a few Swedish voices and stuff. But it's also references, too, that are important.
Let's do more of that. Let's talk about these voices and the references in our next segment with Michael Esposito. I'm Gene. He's Chris. You're in Paracast. The award-winning graphic converter, the universal genius for photo editing on your Mac. Join over 1.5 million loyal users for this Swiss Army knife photo editing app. It gives you all you expect from a top-flight image editing app with tons of features, and most important, it's easy to use. Get 20% off from lemkesoft.de/Gene. That's LEMKEsoft.de/Gene. Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
Hi, Peter Vaccaro for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up for free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and the afterlife, and so much more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people seeking a viable alternative to the other dating services. You can join for free by going to ParanormalDate.com, and if you decide you like it and want to connect with people, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. Mark Rawlings, president of ParanormalDate.com, says so many people hunger to share their experiences about the paranormal, the unexplainable, or the afterlife, and so much more, and this is the source for them to meet and share that common interest. So sign up for free at ParanormalDate.com, ParanormalDate.com, and use the code GEORGE if you decide to connect with someone you like.
There is an affordable alternative to the high cost of healthcare that offers freedom from insurance while providing compliance with the Obamacare individual mandate. Imagine having access to quality, affordable healthcare that allows you the freedom to choose your doctor and hospital. Members can share up to 100% of necessary medical expenses, including some alternative treatments. Find out how you and your family can contain healthcare costs without giving up your freedom. Go to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
What would your life be like if you woke up each morning with new vitality, feeling better than you have in years, and you noticed a difference in your sleeping patterns, blood sugar levels, and had a sense of well-being overall? There's something that is changing thousands of people's lives, and you could be one of them. It's called Heart and Body Extract. Sharon Harris, co-creator of Heart and Body Extract, talks about the positive effects of Heart and Body Extract.
What happens with the formula Heart and Body Extract is it's giving the body the necessary vitamins, minerals, amino acids, enzymes, and phytonutrients so the body will heal itself. And yes, the body does have the ability to balance blood pressure, balance cholesterol, clean and unclog the arteries. It can also work on balancing the circulation for diabetics. So the body is an amazing thing. It simply needs some help so it has the tools to heal itself.
Heart and Body Extract gets results. To order your 2-month supply, call now, toll free at 866-295-5305. Order online at hbextract.com.
In these uncertain times, it makes sense to have a sustainable backup method to cook food and boil water. If your current plan includes using a fuel-burning stove or cooking over an open fire, then there's a much better way. The Minuteman Rocket Stove is a biomass-burning cooking stove that only requires small quantities of sticks and twigs for fuel. The Minuteman Stove is easy to use, smokeless, portable, powerful, and sustainable. For the finest in survival cooking stoves and fire starters made right here in the USA, go to MinutemanStove.com. That's MinutemanStove.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Gene and Chris in the Paracast, a reminder, the best way to support this show is to consider joining now, today, the Paracast Plus at plus.theparacast.com. Go to that site, plus.theparacast.com. Get all the information on how to do it. It's up to you now. We have Michael Esposito, who tends to start long answers when we have a minute left with our segment. It's timing. We also have a whole bunch of audios I'd like to hear more of. Can we start moving towards that?
I was going to lead into a couple of them. Not far from the Potawatomi burial mound was a old Potawatomi village that they, when they did the trail of blood, they marched. The army marched a bunch of the Potawatomis off the land and towards what actually they were going to try and settle them in Atchison, Kansas, where the Sally House was, but the Indians wouldn't stay there because they said the land was bad, and settled across the river. in Kansas for the reservation. Now, there was a hunting tribe that was gone when they took all the village, and when they came back, they found their village gone, so they went out and they caused a battle with the soldiers and took their village people back. And then Indiana sent soldiers to re-round these people up, and there was a horrible battle that quite a few people actually died at. And later it became a farm that Luann runs, and she's an attorney, and she runs a horse rescue there. And a couple of EVPs captured from there, you might find He Did It With Tears is one of them.
He's got a whole bunch here, but I have, okay, let's play that one. Yeah. Okay, it's called He Did It With Tears. There you go.
And then if you go down a little further, there's one called Burning Squaw.
Okay, some people might think this is a sexist title, but here it is. But that's what they say, yes.
Yeah, that's why I titled it that. But yeah.
You know, it's a politically correct world. We have to have terms and conditions for everything.
I don't know if ghosts are politically correct. But I think when they say burn and squall, too, they mean actually on fire.
Well, talking about politically correct ghosts, when we went to Rico D's, we were trying to create a pilot for a TV show, and every single EVP we got had a word that had to be bleeped out because it couldn't be broadcast. So isn't it interesting? You get evidence that you can't present to the public because, you know, it has curse words in it.
Right.
How ironic.
So, yeah, so a lot of the EVPs, and then I just did a bunch of recordings. I've been doing family research. One of my theories that I've been working on is that if like energy attracts, and energy can never be created or destroyed, and energy has individual signatures like thumbprints, that blood energy or energy along family trees are probably stronger than energy that are across family trees. And I found out through some research that my great-great-great-great-grandfather on my mother's side was a lieutenant at the Battle of Tippecanoe against Tecumseh's village under the leadership of the Prophet in 1811, which actually prompted the War of 1812. And they have a special spot where he actually fell. So they have a marker for where my ancestor actually fell. So I did some recordings down there and at Prophet's Rock, where the Prophet convinced the Indians that the white man's bullets would pass right through them, not to be afraid. Addie Newton, who runs a industrial project called Clock DVA since, well, the 70s, late 70s. He was over from England. We did a couple concerts for a new band we got, and we went down there together and we did some recordings, which I haven't really had a chance to go through yet. So I'm trying to combine this whole utterances of native tongue with some of these other theories of energy and family energy.
You know, let me get this right. You think that there's a correlation between the probability and the quality of EVPs by descendants of family members, possibly, that are being recorded?
Of the researcher, correct? Yes.
Well, let's look at that a little bit. Why would that be? Do you think that would indicate?
In my research of actually, I mean, when I first started doing this, as you know well, I wanted to deconstruct what I was catching. I wanted to deconstruct what EVP could possibly be, which took me into the quantum physics of microsound theory and short durations of sound actually not being as classical. Sound engineering tells you shorter periods of sound fall out of the human range of hearing, which quantum physics of microsound says that's not true. Short durations of sound can still be within the frequencies of human hearing, but not build up enough pressure or decibel to be registered by the human ear. And so that these pieces of sound travel in what they call granular clouds, little fragments of bites of sound that hang together because like energy attracts, as Einstein surmised. And if you could imagine like a kind of a cloud of little fragments of sound that can't be registered by the human ear because there's no compression to it, and you bring a recorder in and you slice through one of those clouds by compressing it with the microphone, as we talked about being an analog compressor. When we first started recording with digital recorders, everybody was, oh, you can't use those, they're horrible, they compress sound and compression's bad and blah, blah, blah. But the truth of the matter is I've kind of determined compression is actually a good thing. Because if we're compressing fragments of sound, which, as you know, compression leads to added pressure or decibel, right? So if that's the case, then what we're doing is we're compressing slices of microsound or granular clouds and putting them into an audible state. So we're actually slicing through fragments of sonic memory or persistence of memory, memory of people being able to communicate, just can't build up enough pressure to do it, because they no longer have the physical bodies to push air through the diaphragm and through the vocal.
Yeah, but doesn't this violate the second law of thermodynamics of entropy? I mean, every cause and event occurrence then has entropy. I mean, it descends into nothingness. Basically, it dissipates.
Right, and here's the thing, and I'm not the first one.
Let me break it before you answer so we don't interrupt you, okay? We'll have Michael Esposito's answer. No entropy involved. With Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Diabetes is at war with your circulatory system. Fight back with Cardivite. Cardivite is a dietary supplement containing powerful herbs for circulation and healthy cardiac function. Improve your energy, stamina, and mental acuity. Reduce swelling, cold hands, and risk of amputation. Get your blood flowing with Cardivite. This 5-star rated product was developed by a diabetic pharmacist and is available online at www.getbloodflowing.com. That's www.getbloodflowing.com.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states. Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
For P150, P150GA, P150NY, P150OK, P150TN, C250A, C250E, C250Q. Not available in all states. If New York or Colorado, call for a similar offer.
What's the scariest thing about going to the dentist? Opening your mouth or opening your wallet? Because just a simple cleaning can cost $100, and things like root canals can cost you hundreds more. If you don't have dental insurance to help, call Physicians Mutual Insurance Company. 1-800-656-4939. This isn't a discount plan or preventive-only coverage. This is real dental insurance that helps pay for checkups right away. So you can call today and get your teeth cleaned tomorrow. Plus, it helps cover the more expensive procedures you might need down the road. Fillings, crowns, bridges, even costly dentures. There's no deductible and no annual maximum. Your acceptance is guaranteed for one of these insurance policies, even if you're retired. There are no networks, so you can choose any dentist you'd like. Call now for a free information kit with all the details. 1-800-656-4939. That's 1-800-656-4939. 1-800-656-4939.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-704-6182.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-704-6182. That's 1-800-704-6182.
This is a healthcare alert from the Pain Relief Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee, back, shoulder, or ankle pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You don't have to suffer any longer. You can immediately qualify for a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost to you by calling our 24/7 Pain Relief Hotline at 866-389-0620. Delivery is free and all paperwork is handled for you. If you are on Medicare and have knee, back, shoulder, or ankle pain, don't wait. You can qualify to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost by calling our 24/7 Pain Hotline now at 866-389-0620. Our representatives are standing by 24/7 to take your call and rush you your pain-relieving brace at little or no cost to you. Shipping is free and all paperwork is handled for you. Just call 866-389-0620. That's 866-389-0620. Again, 866-389-0620.
Hi, this is Joshua P. Warren, author of The Poor Man's Paranormal, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
When he says that, I want to thank the Paracast, Michael Esposito.
Well, we're gonna talk about the Parrot in a little while because the Parrot was the lead vocalist on one of my tracks, probably my favorite track on the Medea album that he and I did last year. Well, Michael, you're throwing out terms like quantum mechanics and granular clouds. I think some of our listeners are going to be rolling their eyes saying, it's just a bunch of pseudoscience. How does quantum mechanics possibly have anything to do with acoustics? Why don't you give us a little deeper background on this particular use of terms and also kind of define give us a little bit more complete definition of how you're relating quantum mechanics with acoustics. I'm a little fuzzy here. I'm not quite sure where the connecting points are.
All right, let's take it back then. There's always been a question of what happens to sound once we no longer can hear it. And that also folds into theories of echo. Now, Marconi always believes he was the fellow who invented the radio, as we give him credit for. That sound never was ever gone, never dissipated completely, that it just got infinitely smaller. And he always had hoped, and he'd stated that he had always hoped that he could build a receiving device sensitive enough to be able to hear Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. That was something that he'd always had proposed that, was one that's on his bucket list. It's never quite ended from there. I mean, if you look at, for instance, the stone tape theory, and the stone tape theory is basically that absorbent materials such as stone, certain stone and wood and different physical objects have the ability to absorb the energy of sound, which, if you believe in what Einstein theorized, that energy can never be destroyed or created, it's either resting or kinetic, then we know, or we can at least ascertain, that even vocal energy or noise energy, sound frequency, oscillation, vibration, that remains. And if you look at something like echo, when you speak and you hear an echo or the sound reverberates off of a wall or a stone or a tree or whatever, we're pretty confident now from the research that audio engineers and scientists have done that although some of the audio actually reflects off of the object, some of it's also absorbed into the object. Now, you and I have done some experiments using pure tone tuning forks and stuff at the Sally House, you remember, in the basement? Yeah, you remember that. We'll bring that up in a minute. Yeah. Tell me if you're fuzzy about that.
No.
But my idea was that maybe we could add pure tone energy to some of these residual energies that have absorbed into the stone walls in the basement.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but Michael, wasn't it when you used dissonant tones that were not compatible tones? When you were creating dissonant harmonics, that's when we started to kind of shake things up a little bit in there. I should have grabbed my field notes before the show here, but I seem to remember that you were doing sympathetic tones that were in harmonic intervals to one another, and then you were using notes that were disharmonious. And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that when we started kind of shaking things up a little bit?
Well, we were using the tuning forks, and we were putting them up against the actual stones themselves. So what we were doing is really just injecting. Sorry?
They were sympathetic tones. They were in harmonic intervals that were, pleasing to the ear. It's when you started using dissonant tones that at the end of it. I think I seem to remember suggesting, I looked at your keys, your notes that you had, and I said, well, try this one because B flat doesn't go with G. We were using dissonant tones at the end of it, and I seem to remember that's when we started to shake things up in there a little bit.
You know what? You might be right, because the combination of the forks, and I've never really gotten in too many interviews. I've never really gotten. It's nice having you on because.
No, it's nice having you on.
Well, because usually I never get to that stage of the discussion because I've either lost everyone by the time we got to it or we've moved on. But it's nice that you brought that up.
You were using tuning forks that were within a harmonic octave.
And you brought up the idea of using them out of order and breaking up the
and you were using dissonant tones. Like you were using, I remember you had one tuning fork that wasn't in tune with the others, and I said, use that one.
And people have used tuning forks for absolute centuries for sound healing. And, this isn't a new theory. It's more of a new application for an old theory.
Right.
And if you look at 1971, the Stone Tape series, you can find that on YouTube. It was an English show done around Christmas where that company was trying to come up with a new recording medium and rented that English manor and realized that the haunting they were experiencing was images that were trapped in the stones of the manor, and they decided they were going to create their new recording medium to compete with the Japanese based on the hauntings of these stones. It's a famous miniseries from 1971. You can look it up on YouTube. It's called Stone Tape. But anyway, and then you came up with the idea of bringing things out of order, which, why don't you tell them about some of the crazy results? We were actually on a turn there, and we ended up we stuck the butter knife in the outlet for sure.
That's one way of putting it. What I remember, the last thing that we really did in there, besides attempting to take the EVP axiom, the blue and the golds shall catch the light. So what did we do? We set up blue and gold lights, and they canceled each other out.
The filters, right. Well, that was the first EVP we played. And I was going to say the beauty of that EVP, today I'm still marveled by it, how the thing took on its own life. People stopped saying, hey, it sounds like a young Irish woman, or hey, that, sounds great, or whatever. All of a sudden, everybody wanted to know what the message meant, and that became the whole focus of that EVP. I mean, they no longer even questioned whether or not it was a human voice or a human-sounding voice.
Right. Well, of course, Ron James, who was the director of the video project that we were engaged in filming during the investigation of the Sally House, which, I think for some of our listeners, they have no idea what the Sally House is. So I think at some point we're going to have to kind of give a little explanation of what that location is. I'll tell you, between that place and Mantino, the Mantino State Asylum, those are two places I really don't want to ever go back to. And I've been there and done that and helped design the T-shirt factory. I've been in some really scary situations where other people were totally freaked out and not handling it. So, I've kind of been there and done that, and I consider myself pretty, unflappable. But that basement in the Sally House, when we had Amy Allen standing there with the Pickmans, who were the last inhabitants of the house when they were forced out by the energies in there, and this was the first time they'd ever come back in a number of years, 3 or 4 years, if I remember. We were down in the basement doing a session with Amy. Amy Allen is an incredible psychic. For those of you who aren't familiar with her, she studied with William Roll at the Duke University's, I think, Rhine Center. He was a disciple, the protege of J.B. Rhine, the first great parapsychologist. And Amy was his star pupil. She trained psychics. I have seen her do things that absolutely cannot be explained with rational science.
Chris, let's pick that up in the next segment.
Oh, nice little cliffhanger.
Yeah, well, very much. I may have to clip some of it. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
We also have swag. We have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy. We've got 60 or so different items, and entails T-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast Jumbo tote bag, all sorts of T-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, great T-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children, stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com, stop by, and take a shopping tour.
Did you know your car can be hacked just like your computer or phone? Hackers can hijack the signal of your own key fob to burglarize your vehicle in seconds. The Black Hole Faraday key fob bag is a signal impenetrable shield that stops these hacks in their tracks. Protect one of your most valuable assets. Go to hackproofbag.com. That's hackproofbag.com and use promo code RADIO to get 20% off. Or call 805-222-4584. 805-222-4584.
How confident are you in your food storage? If it was all you had to rely on, would it sustain your family? Hard times, good times, or any time, NuManna Storable Food is the proven superior choice. Learn for yourself what happened when one man ate only NuManna Storable Food for an entire month. Online at powerprepper.com. That's powerprepper.com. Experience the NuManna difference.
American-made food stores I love to eat. Yum!
Looking for that edge during those intimate moments? We see many ads for enhancement, but the side effects include death. At GCN Team, we should change the Healthy Body, Brain, and Heart Pack to the Healthy Libido Pack. The brain and heart are not the only organs that require a healthy vascular system. For proper blood flow at the right moment, go to GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solarc EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solarc is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit PortableSolarLLC.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solarc is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solarc beats other off-grid systems at PortableSolarLLC.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to PortableSolarLLC.com to learn why Solarc is energy insurance for your family.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size for incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency. Get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
This is Jacques Vallée. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
As we said, it is cliffhanger time on the Paracast. Our guest is Michael Esposito. Chris?
Well, anyway, we're talking about the Sally House, and after doing disharmonious experiments with tuning fork vibrations that are being injected into the walls, and at one point we ended up going down in this basement where a lot of the activity was said to be centered, and I had my back to all this, and I'll tell you, I have never felt sitting there holding a camera shot, and if you look at the footage today, you can see my hands are slightly shaking. It felt like a, I don't know how to describe it. It's like an ice cold arm reached into my body and gently grabbed a hold of my heart and then slowly started to squeeze. And right as I'm finishing, the shot, I was about ready to just bolt out of the basement. Amy says, "We have to leave right now. Everybody out." And I'll tell you, I was I was the last one up the stairs, but I kept filming the whole way I was going. And Michael, I was incapacitated. I couldn't move for about 20 minutes. I just sat, and this has never happened to me before or since in any investigation. I was drained of my energy. I developed a pounding headache. I just lay there trying to calm myself and breathe in and out deeply. Do you remember what happened to the other people, including yourself, down in the basement?
We almost called 911 on you. I thought you were having a heart attack. Tony had left after that to go get the kids some pizzas for dinner and then come back. And he had to pull over to the side of the road. And I guess he pulled over to the side of the road and got on, was just vomiting and vomiting and vomiting. When Amy and I both got back, we suffered severe flu-like symptoms for 2 weeks straight, and then it just ended one day because I was in tight contact with her about it. Almost at the same time, it just ended for us, but it was like just a horrible flu-like symptoms. It was just horrible. We really did. We really stuck the butter knife in the socket on that one.
All I'm saying is I'm sure glad that Amy said we have to leave now, because if she hadn't said that, I would have dashed out of there, and that would have been the only time ever in all the years that I've been on any sort of investigation that I've screwed the pooch and dropped the ball. So I'm proud of myself for holding that shot as long as I did. And that we have not ever broadcast the footage that we got, including me interviewing Tony Pickman. And he all of a sudden, right in the middle of the interview, he goes, "Oh no!" And bloody furrows start to appear at his scalp line and start coming down his forehead. Yeah. Which I don't know when Ron's ever going to release that footage, but there are. I don't care what anybody says out there, and I was a real skeptic before I got involved in investigating these places. Now I've actually done quite a number of them. Including here in Jerome, Arizona, 2 towns over from me, just one of the most haunted sites in America, haunted towns. I was a real skeptic, and I didn't really I thought all this was dumb and stupid, and kind of it was just people's imaginations, and people freaking out and stuff, and I never took it seriously until I met this guy. and talk about somebody who's unflappable. He goes into some of these places, and even seasoned investigators are kind of getting the willies, and he's walking around like nothing's happening. But how did you feel in that Sally House basement? I never really have asked you, what your feelings were right at that last like 3 or 4 minute period.
It was getting pretty dicey at the end there, to say the least. But yeah, I've been in so many dicey situations. I literally think that I need to make myself more innocent, to make myself more open to things. The one thing that worries me is that I'm going to become so jaded and literally to the place where I'm shutting out evidence because I'm just so used to it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like, it's like when you step too far over the veil, it's no longer stepping across the veil. It's, just here. But just to give the audience a couple things to bite on about some of the harsher EVPs from the Sally House, why don't we play a couple that I got here, little harsher ones for them, like Die Here.
Yeah, go ahead, cue them up, Gene.
Oh, Die Here. Sounds like a Die Hard movie. Oh, this is a loud one. All right. Folks, this is going to blow away your eardrums. You ready to have your eardrums blown away? Well, we're going to do it on the Paracast.
Why did they miss?
Oh, okay. That's the kind of thing that leaves people speechless.
Well, yeah, I didn't hear a thing, so I've been waiting for somebody to say something. The playback isn't working on my end here.
What you hear is you hear two voices. One, what I call the hag, she goes, "Die here," and then you hear the panicked woman at the end. So you hear it kind of retch up and go, "What?" Either "Why here" or "Die here," but real loud.
Well, why here? I use that in one of the pieces in Medea.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so this is not a Die Hard movie.
Definitely not.
It will be if you keep cracking bad jokes. You're going to be dying there, believe me.
Okay, another really good one.
I'll beat you. I'll beat you about the neck and shoulders.
I'm taller than you, Chris.
It doesn't matter. I'm bigger than you and tougher.
Well, you're bigger than me in weight. Sure, you probably weigh like 30 pounds more than me.
Yeah, and believe me, I've been watching my UFC and practicing my punching.
Okay, well then the black belt is not going to count for anything.
Well, I'll bring you a black and blue belt. I'll leave it with you. How's that?
This is going to be the violent cast instead of the Paracast.
Well, it's, come on, Gene. A little gravitas here. I mean, this is serious stuff. I don't care what you think. I know you've led such a sheltered life. You've never actually gone into a place that had stuff that could actually, change your view of reality and shift your paradigm to the extent that Michael has, and to a lesser extent that I have.
I've been to a few weird places in my lifetime.
Yeah, but your bedroom doesn't count.
Well, we didn't want to get into that, especially my office. That is considered to be weird. We were supposed to be doing serious stuff here. We're now bantering. But seriously, I look forward to hearing the next recording. You want to do one more before we break for the segment?
Let's do some more, Michael. You got some good ones there, man.
Let's do We'll Meet You in Hell. Or we can say hell, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, we could say hell. And boy, I'm going to give Gene hell tomorrow when I see him.
Well, you in which army? Okay, you ready for this, folks? I'll tell you honestly, I don't hear any voices in a meaningful way. I just hear a noise. It is loud.
I couldn't hear a thing, so play it again.
Okay, I'm playing it one more time. It's full volume, folks. Here again, do you hear a voice? Anyway, let's move on.
Oh, let's try Father Bash Her Head.
I sort of heard that one.
Hello.
Okay, Chris is going to hear this on the playback when he comes to my house. Because unfortunately, the way we had to set this up to play this seamlessly on the show, the audio doesn't go back to the output device. Don't ask me to explain that. There's no sense to it. But we'll work out a better way next time we have to do sounds and things like that. In any case, we've got 4 more segments and some questions from you listeners of Michael Esposito. We also have more of those audio clips, and hopefully you'll hear voices that you can understand. Some of them, they're really, really clear. And that makes them freaky. But don't freak out if you're interested in supporting the show. Go check out the Paracast Plus at plus.theparacast.com. Once again, that's plus.theparacast.com. And we ask you to check that site because it tells you how to sign up, what's going to happen when you sign up, and what the benefits are. And it's really terrific. Plus.theparacast.com. We're talking about EVPs, these really odd audios that Michael Esposito has captured over the years, and more of them will be coming with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Classic science fiction at its best. Available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
Are you one of the 70% of Americans that want to own your own business? Afraid to leave the security of your current job to pursue your dreams? I'm Pharmacist Keith. Dr. Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy, and myself want to show you a low-cost way to create your own business, working around your current job schedule, creating extra income for you and your family by joining his crusade, spreading his message of better health. To learn more, visit radio.recordedvideo.com, radio.recordedvideo.com. That's radio.recordedvideo.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Craig Samet from Anthem. Did you know that premature birth is the #1 cause of death of babies? That's why the Anthem Foundation is working with the March of Dimes to fight to end premature birth and birth defects. But you can do something today to give them tomorrow. Your support means programs, education, life-saving research, and a voice for families in the newborn intensive care unit. Together we can help save babies' lives. Give them tomorrow at marchofdimes.org/tomorrow.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Chris is right now preparing his favorite karate chop for me tomorrow.
Yeah. Let's keep it. Keep the gravitas happening. Michael, what have we missed, or what do you want to cover that we haven't covered?
Maybe about 5 hours worth of stuff, but no. One thing, a lot of people think EVPs are just voices. I've always found that some of my favorite EVPs were actually not voices at all, but sounds. animals or weird music coming from nowhere. And I've got a really great example. I don't know if you've heard this one, Chris. You may like this one. But we were invited to go and do research at the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago. You know, Dr. Fisher was famous for working at Lincoln Park Zoo. He was always on Ray Rayner with his animals and stuff. We were in his office. He's long since been dead. But it's about, this picture is 2 o'clock in the morning, completely dark, everything turned off, no electricity, nothing going on, no radios, nothing like that. It's 2 o'clock in the morning in Dr. Fisher's office at the zoo. And I captured this recording. And if you cue up weird music detail, you'll hear something. Once we play it, I'll explain to you the backstory on it.
What's the name of this clip again?
Weird music detail. Great EVP, and there's no words at all in it.
It's very low, folks, so let me do a little trickery here. I'm going to do some trickery before we play this clip. And I'm going to take care of the volume. I'm going to blow it up about there. Probably going to have a lot of hiss after this, okay? There it is. Okay, this is going to have a lot of background noise because I just blew this up quite a bit. The weird music detail.
I didn't hear anything except line noise.
Well, there it is, and Chris will hear the full thing when he checks out the playback.
I think another idea, too, that we might utilize, Gene and Michael, is to go ahead and post these EVPs that we featured here on the show, post them at forum.theparacast.com on the show thread. Just go to the Paracast forum, go to the thread, talk about the show with Michael Esposito, and we'll go ahead and give some, non-broadcast versions of these EVPs so that you can hear them off your own computer without any sort of buffering and filtering, all the things that take place between, the show and your ears listening to the broadcast. So we'll have those up front and center for you.
It would be okay here because we're only playing like a third of them. Put the whole kit and caboodle up there.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
Everything, I'll put everything up there, and I'll either do them as separate files or one collection that you can download. And maybe what we'll do is we'll stick it in the Paracast Plus. So if you're a member of the Paracast Plus, we'll make available in a special thread all of these files for you.
Right.
Not hearing it on playback, Gene, were you able to hear organ music or strange calliope type music?
I was indeed, and our listeners will too. Understand they're having difficulty because of the logistics of what we're trying to do, and I have to look for a better way of doing it.
I'm not hearing anything, Michael, on my end. I'm not hearing any of the playbacks at all. I may have heard just a shade of one, but I think I'm
getting the same thing you are, Chris. Yeah, I'm getting nothing too. So I'm just working on faith here.
Yeah,
such is my line, right?
I've been working on faith this project for 7 years, but
right, exactly. But anyway, the interesting thing about that is the music sounds like a lot like a calliope or maybe a merry-go-round, correct? The only merry-go-round in the park was on the other side of the park, which is literally a mile away. And it wasn't on, of course, because it was all shut down. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. But find out that at one point, a long, long time ago, where Dr. Fisher's office is, the merry-go-round did sit. And that weird kind of 70s, organ or calliope music, if you will, that sound is actually from the location where many, many, many years ago, the merry-go-round did sit.
Oh, I see. Wow, that's intriguing. So that would lend credence to the assumption, I guess, that you were picking up something from when the Calliope sounding merry-go-round used to be right by the office there, because obviously today, if it's a mile away, you're not going to be able to hear it. Even if the wind's coming in your direction from the Calliope, you're not going to be able to hear it. So that's interesting. And you're right. No, I haven't heard that. How often do EVPs feature other sounds rather than human voices? I mean, could you put some sort of percentage on it? It would seem to me it's a fairly small percentage.
I put it about 5%. They're rare. I mean, they're rare enough that I find after all the EVPs and all the voices I hear almost on a daily basis. I hear voices on a daily basis. When I capture something that I know to be like an unknown animal sound that shouldn't exist or unknown, even women wailing or crying or sobbing or gunshots. We've got cannon shots at battlegrounds. The Calliope music, or the merry-go-round music, rather. When I capture stuff like that, I get fairly excited about it because I'm so used to the voices in EVPs. When I capture something that I consider, rare or a 5%er, to me that's striking a little bit of gold.
Yeah, I seem to remember you had one that had chickens in it, or like a rooster crowing, if I remember.
Yeah, I think so. I think possibly. I got so many. I got tens of thousands of EVPs. Some of the more interesting ones I mean, obviously at the Museum of Purgatory Souls, that woman just screaming bloody murder is just amazing. That you hear in the composition. Some other organs.
Well, how about some other Class A EVPs that you've uploaded to Gene? What other ones do you want to go ahead and present?
Let's try The Dead Are Here. That was from Lou Ann's farm.
Yeah. Earth to Gene.
This is a very fast one, folks. Here it is. So you do hear the words, "The dead are here."
Play it one more time.
Sure, one more time.
I turned my speaker volume way up, and I did hear something, but I couldn't make it out.
Now, the interesting thing about EVPs, too, is they don't seem to follow constraints within time. Some of them are very fast. Some of them are slow. A lot of times the meter's off on them. A lot of times parts of them are in forward. Some of them are partially or all in reverse. So they don't follow the same mechanics of regular sound recording, or what we would deem to be a normal or true sound, which is always really interesting. In fact, right next to that, there's one that's I Might Be English. I think is a fairly interesting one, too.
Tell you what, we'll do that sound in our next segment, okay? Give you a sense of what we have and give you an idea of the various options. This one's a very short one, so we'll play it. In the next segment, we're talking to Michael Esposito about these incredible sounds that he has recorded, and we'll present them, the complete collection, to members of the Paracast Plus at plus.theparacast.com with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
The award-winning graphic converter, the universal genius for photo editing on your Mac. Join over 1.5 million loyal users for this Swiss Army knife photo editing app. It gives you all you expect from a top-flight image editing app with tons of features, and most important, it's easy to use. Get 20% off from lemkesoft.de/Gene. That's lemkesoft.de/Gene. As you know, neighbors, web hosting can be pretty cheap, but not all hosting is the same. DreamHost wins Best of Awards year after year. You get unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, and even the low-cost plans put your sites on high-performance SSDs. Want to know more about what DreamHost has to offer? Go to technightowl.com/host. Once again, that's technightowl.com/host.
My computer is so slow, it's making me crazy.
I used to have that problem.
Did you quit using a computer or did you buy a new one?
No, I called Geeks On Site. They made an appointment to visit my home and showed up the same day.
You mean they didn't ask you to bring your computer to a shop? That's what happened when I called a support company.
Geeks On Site can go to your home or business or even repair your computer online. They have 24/7 emergency service.
If you're having problems with your PC or Mac, call Geeks On Site, 1-800-591-1682. Our friendly certified computer repair experts are available 24/7. Call now for a free diagnosis, 1-800-591-1682. Data recovery, virus removal, and maintenance for all laptops, desktops, printers, and networks. That's Geeks On Site for friendly certified computer repair experts, available 24/7 over the phone or in your home or business. Just call 1-800-591-1682. That's 1-800-591-1682, 1-800-591-1682.
Why be held hostage by your wireless carrier for 2 years? What if you had no contract, no activation fees, no hidden costs, tracking, tracing, harvesting customer data, or draconian gimmicks? All on America's largest 4G LTE, GSM, and Sprint networks. Introducing Pix Wireless. Activate your Sprint, AT&T, or unlock GSM phones with Pix and choose from an arsenal of monthly plans or build your own. Starting at only $2.99 per month. Get connected now. Call or click 1-866-205-9513 or PixWireless.com, spelled PIXWireless.com. Pick Pix and get connected today.
Are you happy washing your hands with harsh chemicals? Are you happy doing laundry with detergents? Are you happy paying high prices? Find your happiness with Pure Soap. These all-natural, earth-friendly Pure Soaps are the very best you've ever used. Buy in bulk. Get a 12, 36, or 48-month supply, or get items individually and still save big. You're getting soap products twice as good as what you're using now, earth-friendly and natural soaps. Your family deserves the best. Happiness is 5starsoap.com. Why not put your money up the drain for a change? See them at 5starsoap.com or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog. Cal Ben Soap Company can save you thousands of dollars and give you good old-fashioned real soaps that are triple concentrated. Soaps made from vegetable and coconut oils. See their full selection of soaps at 5starsoap.com. That's F-I-V-E starsoap.com. Or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog.
Fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. I'm talking thick, meaty, center-cut presidential bacon. Savory and delicious. I buy some, I use some, I store some. Awesome. No refrigeration needed with a 10-year shelf life. NASA pack technology. Bacon. Fully cooked, fully hydrated, ready to eat right from the packed bacon. Or warm and served. Life-saving, ready-to-eat bacon. 10-year shelf life bacon. Ships free at fullycookedbacon.com. Fullycookedbacon.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
So right now, I'm going to play that clip that Michael's talking about, might be English. We'll try it twice because it's only about 1.5 seconds. One more time. And what they say is, they might be English. What's the background of this one?
That's from the Potawatomi burial mound where they buried the Dutch settlers. So if you listen to it very closely, you hear sort of a Dutch accent from it. We also got stuff in German, well, Dutch, if you will, and also some of the Potawatomi. So we had various time eras like bleeding through, our recordings, which I thought was quite interesting. Also on there, and this will be a kind of a nice, interesting one for kind of a segment here. If you look at I Will Never Leave. Chris, this one's from Mantino.
All right, I Will Never Leave. Here it is right here. And this clip, by the way, is very low in volume. So what I'm going to do before we actually play it is to do a little volume enhancement there. Okay, so the only change here is I'm enhancing the volume of I will never leave. Let me try it one more time. I cannot understand that at all. Sounds like the Rorschach test here, Michael, because I could not understand any of those words. And maybe it's my hearing, but then I'm not a rock and roller.
Different people here are comfortable at different frequency ranges. Like you always hear the common argument from women that my husband never listens to me. There's a good chance that a lot of times he doesn't hear her or very well anyway, because certain people have certain frequency ranges that they're comfortable in hearing and they can hear real easily. And other ones, like someone you think you're speaking clearly to asks you to repeat something 3 or 4 times, there's a good chance that it's in a frequency level or a combination of frequencies that they don't work in comfortably, and they do miss it or a lot of it. So, yeah, a lot of times some of the EVPs people don't hear. Some other people say, oh, I hear that perfectly. And it doesn't bother me anymore because I'm so used to it and I understand how it works. Another one from that same investigation is They Don't Die. You might want to try that one.
Okay, I have to look through like about 10, 15 of these. This one also, I'm going to do no, I don't have to do it. You have 2 channels of sound, one of which is very loud, one of which is not. But since our listeners are hearing this in mono, it doesn't matter.
Much better, like no pain, no suffering.
Something about pain or suffering?
There were 2 EVPs of that. One says They Don't Die.
All right, well, this one is entitled They Don't Die, but I hear it about pain and suffering.
There's also something in there about pain or suffering. I just gave it They Don't Die. It's because that actually might be reverse and just mislabeled.
Okay, well, I won't die trying to find out what happened there.
Right, but what I do want to bring up about that is I'm doing a box set. I did a series of flexis, or I've been working on a series of flexi records, which are like the flimsy records or sound sheets that used to come in magazines or in the back of cereal boxes. And I'm doing a box set of the ones I've done over the last 5 years. And some of them aren't available anymore. There's one that my brother and I did on Mantino Asylum. And what we wanted to do is in all of my work, I give what I try and keep as truism as far as reference and make sure everything's portrayed in a scientific or pure manner. And Mantino was a great asylum because they tested Thorazine there. They had a lot of schizophrenics there. And some reports that have just recently come out about schizophrenics from a couple of the East Coast universities. I think one was Yale. A big dissertation came out talking about how schizophrenics suffer what they call the housekeeper's dilemma. In other words, the housekeeper cleans the house, turns around, and it's dirty again. They can't seem to organize their world. Where a rational person, when they're in a new environment, they organize their environment to be able to function in it. What the housekeeper suffers is never being able to, or the schizophrenic suffers is never being able to organize the world that they're in and can't function in it. A lot of schizophrenics claim that ghosts or spirits have stole their thoughts or stole their thoughts and put words in their mouth and things like that. And a lot of the physical twitches and things have been somehow linked to pre-death throes. So what they're saying, and what some of the psychologists are saying now, they believe that possibly schizophrenics actually have one foot on both sides of the veil. In other words, they're constantly flip-flopping between the living and the dead. And they can never seem to organize their world, so they never really know whether or not they're dealing in the living of the world of living or the world of the dead. Now, take it one step further, LSD was actually used initially as a treatment for schizophrenia, and it actually later was deemed to represent or to portray what schizophrenics go through. And from that, psychedelic music was used to represent what an LSD trip was. And so my brother and I did an album with the EVPs from Mantino, and we put together some compositions of psychedelic music to go with it. And I wrote a big lecture on the inside. Now, the Flexi is no longer available, but it is available as a download. And I wanted to include that in the box set. So what I did is I had the cover of the album repressed, or the Flexi, and I sent it to Zane Kesey, who you might know. His dad was Mark Kesey of the Merry Pranksters. He wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Well, that was Ken Kesey.
Ken Kesey, not Mark, Ken. So Ken Kesey's son, Zane, has who was actually a few years older than I am, was actually a kid on the Magic Bus and stuff. You know, they're credited with inventing tie-dye, and Tim Leary used to write with them. And
with the destination indicated as further.
Further, correct. Further, exactly.
Well,
And
before you get too far away from Mantino, Michael, we must kind of bring our listeners up to speed. This is the first of the super institutions for the mentally insane in the early 1900s. It's where they first performed frontal lobe lobotomies, where Thorazine was first tested and developed, where electroshock therapy techniques were developed, also where extreme hot and cold water or hydrotherapy treatments, shock treatments were first utilized, and those techniques and prescriptions.
And also the testing, yes.
Let's do our break, and then we'll have more of this. And we have some questions from listeners that Chris will get into sometime in the next two segments with Gene and Chris. You're in
Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
There is an affordable alternative to the high cost of healthcare that offers freedom from insurance while providing compliance with the Obamacare individual mandate. Imagine having access to quality, affordable healthcare that allows you the freedom to choose your doctor and hospital. Members can share up to 100% of necessary medical expenses, including some alternative treatments. Find out how you and your family can contain healthcare costs without giving up your freedom. Go to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
If you or someone you care about loves outdoor adventure, then check out slingbow.com for some unique holiday gift ideas. That's slingbow.com, where we have some innovative new products for the archer, hunter, or bow fishing enthusiast in your family. Now through January, use the promo code HOLIDAY to get free shipping in the U.S. or Canada. And from all of us at Slingbow Industries, have a safe, joyous, and peaceful holiday season.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you could move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep REM sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. I do all of my own manufacturing right here in the United States. I have a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry my pillow, and I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. And here's my best offer ever. You can buy one of my pillows and get one absolutely free.
Go to mypillow.com or call 800-870-0305 and use promo code GCN. That's mypillow.com or 800-870-0305 with promo code GCN.
Think about this. Your community's aging water infrastructure systems are very likely to be contaminated with heavy metals like lead, disinfection chemicals like ammonia, chlorine and chloramines, and pharmaceuticals like statins, pain meds, and antidepressants. And no, water treatment plants are not equipped to filter these pharmaceutical toxins out. Protect your family's water supply with the trusted Big Berkey water filter. New NSF EPA-certified lab tests show Big Berkey water filters remove chloramines, pharmaceuticals, BPA, pesticides, bacteria, and viruses, all forms of fluoride, and much more. Big Berkey water filters are the original and most trusted on the market, the gold standard in water purification, and our filters last for years at less than 2 cents per gallon. Big Berkey, the one powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get your Big Berkey today. Call 1-877-99-BERKEY or click BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
Dangerous blood clot device alert. If you or a loved one had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to your heart or lungs and suffered an injury, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, and even death. These dangerous blood clot devices can break, and the metal fragments can travel to your heart or lungs, causing serious injuries. If you or a loved one suffered organ damage or other injuries from an IVC filter, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. InjuryHelpDesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hey, this is Marie D. Jones, the author of This Book is from the Future, and you are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
We're being revisited by EVP Chris. He's someone who comes in occasionally and raises heck. All right, Chris? Go on, please.
I don't know about raising hell. Maybe, perhaps. If you're involved, generally I raise hell.
Thank you.
I'll look up our questions, but I wanted to zero in on Mantino a little bit more, because when we went there in what was it, 2006, I think, Michael, 2005, the 1,200 buildings that used to be part of this huge complex had, for the most part, all been, knocked down. The facility,
they were repurposed.
Yeah, the facility had been abandoned basically for a number of years. I think in the mid to late 90s, they finally closed it, and they started, knocking the buildings down. And by the time we got there, there were only two big, huge dormitory buildings and a few of the smaller office type buildings left. People have asked me to describe what it was like walking in there. And the only way I can really describe it is imagine the sound of a million voices screaming and then put it just below audible level. It was like condensed acoustic ghost soup in there. There was a roar that you could kind of feel, but you couldn't hear. And it sounded like, the screams of millions of people over 100 years, or 90 years. And it was very disconcerting. Michael and I had a sighting of a weird kind of pale spectral face in a window there was no way somebody could have been up 15 feet off the ground up in this particular window. I heard the sound of footsteps come across the entire 100 plus foot dormitory building in pitch black, kicking little bits of broken glass and stuff. There was nothing inside. It was all totally cleaned out. There was just a lot of debris, small crushed up debris, plaster, piles of bricks here and there. And me and a light guy were filming into a hydrotherapy room pointed, laterally from the main room, which was to our left. And the two of us, the light guy and me, we heard somebody walk all the way across this room. It was quite distinct with the echo of the footsteps. I wanted to move the camera and the light and film whoever it was coming across this space, but I was busy, doing a shot in the hydrotherapy room and staying in the doorway. As soon as the director said cut, we both turned to reveal who'd been sneaking up on us across this huge dormitory room, and there was nobody there. at that point we had split up into two teams. I had thought it was somebody trying to sneak up on us from our group, trying to freak us out. But no, it wasn't. It was this weird, set of footsteps, probably 20, 30 footsteps coming across pitch black in a large empty space, kicking a pile of bricks at one point, and, swing around quickly with the light and the camera, because both of us, me and the light guy, both heard it. And we were looking at each other going, who's that? Who's that? And as soon as he said cut, we both turned, and there was nobody there. Remember that, Michael?
It was an amazing place. I mean, just truly with the amount of stuff and the EVPs and just everything that went on there. I actually brought a piece of the slate roof home, and things at home got so bad I ended up taking it back. I said, no, I got to get rid of this.
Have they torn the rest of those 5 buildings that were remaining out of the 1,200 down now?
No, it's still there. And actually, a lot of the buildings, there were quite a few of the buildings that were repurposed into office and actually living spaces and warehouses. So there actually were more buildings still standing, but just gutted and rebuilt to serve other functions. So it's weird. The energy there is extreme, to say the least. But anyway, as I was saying, with Zane, I don't know why I wanted to call his dad Mark, but with Zane, he has one of the last acid blotter perforating machines left in America. So I thought it'd be a great idea to have it pressed into 900 tabs of acid blotter per flexi cover. So the actual covers are, even though it will be acid-free paper, Chris, but they will be pressed and perforated into 900 tabs of acid blotter.
Right, and use Casper the Friendly Ghost as the image.
Right? But, just amazing. I wanted the correlation to remain of that whole congruency of the whole schizophrenic question, and LSD and psychedelic music, all relating to this question of whether or not schizophrenics actually are or not flip-flopping between the living and the dead. And if like energy attracts, does that actually enhance the schizophrenic's malady, or is the fact that they are schizophrenic attract the?
Yeah, I think that's a legitimate question, but we have to remember that schizophrenia is a catch-all, a very broad-based general term that encompasses all different kinds of mental conditions that really don't have any other place to be classified, and so they just lump them all into schizophrenia. It's an incredibly complex.
It's probably one of the most misused or abused diagnoses in
my point exactly.
Psychological field. Yeah.
But when you have a place like Manteno that's designed to hold, I think, 5,000 patients, and it routinely had 10 to 12,000 or even more people crammed in there, plus a cemetery where bodies were dumped very unceremoniously, I might add, from a lot of the deaths that occurred there, especially during the Depression in the 20s and 30s. When you have warehouses where people with mental problems are warehoused, single women, young girls that are pregnant, were often placed into these big super institutions, unwed mothers, people with speech impediments, people who would not normally now in this normal, high-tech age, would be dealt with properly instead of warehoused with, suicidal, mentally ill, suicidal people, maniacal, mentally totally, shall we say, antisocial types and that sort of thing. Back then, it was a catch-all place for anybody that didn't fit into culture, and it would make sense that there would be a lot of anguish and residual, potential residual elements left behind by anguished people and patients in these facilities. One of the things that I found very depressing in there was that one room where some investigators had written out in graffiti around the entire hydrotherapy room a file of one of the patients in there, and we got some great photographs in there. But Michael, we're kind of running out of time here, and we do have some questions from some of our listeners, and I think we should start to address some of the issues that have sprung up.
Sure. Which is sad too, because I kind of wanted to touch base on Peoria Mental Hospital too. That would have been. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I do. We did the Ghost Asylum documentary there.
This is kind of a last-minute announcement, but since Michael doesn't have time to cover every topic he wanted to on this episode of the Paracast, we're going to hold him over, and he's going to be our guest on our special premium podcast after the Paracast, available to members of the Paracast Plus this week. We're covering EVPs, haunted places, and more with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
We also have swag. We have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy. We've got 60 or so different items, and entails t-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast Jumbo tote bag, all sorts of t-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, great t-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children, stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com, stop by, and take a shopping tour.
We use cell phones against our heads every day. But now, a landmark U.S. government study confirms increased health risks from exposure to EMF radiation emitted from these devices. The time to protect yourself is now. The solution is Defender Shield. Proudly made in the USA, Defender Shield blocks virtually 100% of EMF radiation emitted from cell phones, tablets, and laptops. Buy now at DefenderShield.com. Use discount code DEFENDER for 10% off. DefenderShield.com, the worldwide leader in EMF radiation protection.
There is an affordable alternative to the high cost of healthcare that offers freedom from insurance while providing compliance with the Obamacare individual mandate. Imagine having access to quality, affordable healthcare that allows you the freedom to choose your doctor and hospital. Members can share up to 100% of necessary medical expenses, including some alternative treatments. Find out how you and your family can contain healthcare costs without giving up your freedom. Go to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states. Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
Hi, Peter Vaccaro for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up for free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and the afterlife, and so much more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people seeking a viable alternative to the other dating services. You can join for free by going to ParanormalDate.com, and if you decide you like it and want to connect with people, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. Mark Rawlings, president of ParanormalDate.com, says so many people hunger to share their experiences about the paranormal, the unexplainable, or the afterlife, and so much more, and this is the source for them to meet and share that common interest. So sign up for free at ParanormalDate.com, ParanormalDate.com, and use the code GEORGE if you decide to connect with someone you like.
From the pages of the Bible comes a terrifying account of an ancient beast that was half man, half demon. It is returned in a best-selling novel, Nephilim, by L.A. Marzulli. Indiegogo presents you with an opportunity to get involved in making this supernatural novel into a major motion picture. Join journalist Mac McKenzie as he travels halfway around the world to uncover the truth about aliens and demons. Join our Indiegogo campaign to get Nephilim made into a movie. Go to Indiegogo.com, #Nephilim.
This is Kurt Sotheby, author of UFO Mysteries, and you're listening to the Paracast.
Okay, Chris, how about going through some questions quickly?
Well, one thing, Michael, I must say, and it's been very disheartening for me as someone who has become actively involved in brief spurts in haunted site investigations. I do feel that this is a very fruitful and very compelling type of investigative work. But, years ago, I absolutely gave up on any of the just dozens, it seems, of ghost shows that have been on TV. I really have problems with manufacturing evidence, with, reality drama and creating problems between members of the investigative team and all this reality show BS, basically. Where do you come down on these ghost shows? I mean, are there any that are worth watching? Ghost Hunters after the third season, to me, was a joke. Amy Allen's show, Dead Files, I've seen, admittedly not many, but I've seen a few episodes of that, and I know Amy, and I know that what she's picking up on is, for the most part, legit. But give us some of your favorites and some of the shows that you absolutely don't like, and tell us why.
Honestly, I kind of stopped watching them a long time ago. I remember when Ghost Hunters first came out and they started to do it. It was interesting, but I found myself watching it for the drama that was going on between the people, and the whole East Coast kind of, it had a real nice feel of what their home lives were like and things like that. And I actually found myself watching it more for that than fruitlessly or an occasion, very few occasions, which is good too, because I think out of all of them, Ghost Hunters was probably, especially at the beginning, was probably one of the most, straightforward one. I mean, I remember you'd have to watch like 4 or 5 episodes before they captured anything worthwhile in the beginning. So that what they would do is they'd fill it full of infighting and other stuff, which actually made it more interesting and probably a little more realistic. But then they refined their formula, and then it just went to crap like all the rest of them. But yeah, it's usually filled with people that are into themselves and not interested in the things. So I'd be more interested in looking at documentaries or things like that. I think people need to redefine the purpose of doing shows or programs, as to what they want to accomplish.
Come on, it's filler between commercials. Let's get real.
Right. It's something that links commercials together at this point, which is totally retarded. But that's why I say the documentary level, I think, would probably be something that's more interesting to me, because unless you just want a thrill or whatever, and then you're really just on a joyride. It depends on the level of the audience, because I think what they've done is misjudged the level of the audience as somebody that's just looking for a thrill versus somebody that's really interested in thoughtfully exploring it.
Right. Yeah. So it's the real, very there's a deep gulf between true investigation and pure entertainment.
Correct.
Well, that's why I liked our original Dead Whisper project, which came out in 2006. That was the real deal. Nobody was faking anything. Everybody was, the camera was just a, kind of a fly on the wall. What you saw is what happened. People's reactions were what they were. There was no, let's try that again, do another take. Everything was one take. In real life. And I wish more of the shows would adopt that kind of approach. And obviously, if they did, they wouldn't be really finding much, because it's pretty rare to go into a situation and actually have something to present to a TV audience. It'd be really boring.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think what's really cool about that program too is there was a special edition of that DVD put out with B footage, B-roll of just shots in between us screwing off and things that showed how things were really going. And you get a real sense of watching that. You got a real sense of what was really going on there. So if anybody were to watch it and say, oh, it's probably staged and blah, blah, blah. If they went back and watched the B-roll or the bonus disc, they saw, all the stuff that was going on and around and behind the scenes. So they knew that when we were laughing or joking about stuff or we were setting up and, they could see all the inner workings of it. And so they would know that it really wasn't something that was scripted or staged or what have you.
Right. The B-roll featured extended shots. We'd take maybe a 15-second or 20-second shot that was used in the Dead Whisper piece, and the B-roll would show what happened before and after that to put it into context. So I have a question here, and you've actually scared up some new posters at forum.theparacast.com where our listeners are able to dial up the question thread and post questions for our guests. And this one comes from France. It's from French UFO. It's their very first post at the forum. They've been a member since 2014. So, Michael, you're bringing them out of the ethers here. We see a lot of groups and shows using EVP with various technologies and tools. Are these tools and methods all equal?
Well, I've always said, when it comes down to tools, they're nothing but tools. The best, I've often been asked, what's the best tool someone could get starting out in this business? I always tell them a good set of ears. Nothing in the world is going to replace solid observation and careful listening. Practice careful listening, practice observation. People miss so much because they're just not paying attention. So, you can get the latest and greatest electronics or ghost box or EMF readers or recorders or whatever. In fact, the cheapest recorders are better because you have less sound control. You have less sound buffering. I'd never use a Bose recorder because there's so much sound cleaning technology in it. You don't get what you hear anyway. But still, nothing replaces just a real strong sense of observation and a good source of attention.
Well, I remember after your first guest appearance here at the Paracast that there was quite an extended thread of people arguing, well, the only EVPs that are captured on the cheapest digital recorders, and this stuff will never be picked up on real good audio equipment. And there was a lot of suggestion, I think, in the naysayers saying that this is all sort of sound pareidolia, that it's all, either crosstalk or contamination from people whispering in the room. One thing that I must say, though, Michael runs a really tight ship when we're doing EVP recordings. There's an absolute blazed in fire rule that when we're doing EVP recordings, nobody is allowed to whisper.
It's not the ghost whisperer. It's just no one's allowed to make a sound. We don't want to contaminate
the gene
that
whisperer.
Something like that.
Just pat his head.
Thank you. Michael, where can we find more of the stuff you do?
If you go to www.discogs.com and type in my name, you'll find an extensive list of my productions, my recordings. Also, if you just Google my name and then EVP after it, I'm something like the first 36 pages or something on the search engine.
That's real good. You can find us on Twitter if you look for the Paracast, look for the 2 Paracast fan clubs. We will be offering the complete archive of all the EVP files that Michael sent us, and then you can make your own determination as to what you think. And neighbors, we're going to hold over Michael Esposito for this week's episode of After the Paracast. So that's yet another reason to become a subscriber. To become a member of Paracast Plus and really, really support this show, you go to plus.theparacast.com. That's plus.theparacast.com. We offer this show commercial-free, better audio. We also offer the After the Paracast podcast and lots of other benefits with more coming. And the more benefits depend on how many of you members stick with us and how many of you listeners join up to support the show at plus.theparacast.com. That's plus.theparacast.com. We also have links on all our sites. So no matter where you go, you find out there is a Paracast Plus. So check it out. Michael Esposito, it's always informative to discover the work that you've done and hear more of it. Thank you for joining us on the Paracast.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's always a pleasure to be with you guys.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.